Your ability to experience the moment in which you are hearing me read this text is a result of an inconceivable amount of history and evolution. For as long as the human brain has conceived of ideas, we have etched our inner selves into an exterior reality in hopes of holding hands with the future. Film is of any art form merely a present experience. The same way your experience engaging with my text is a present action, your engagement with film is a present action. And most importantly, its creation is a present action. The nature of present creation is that film will only ever exist in the past, hence its purpose be to hold hands with the future. It is then that film is an entity that intertwines itself with human evolution, as a documentation of history through itself being a simulation of the sight and sound in any given moment. In this essay, I will explore how the modern world misinterprets the potential of film, how our modern abundance of media works to diminish the value of film, and how film is intrinsically intertwined with human existence. I aim to give you a better understanding of the human relationship with film and to recontextualize the lie of objectivity pushed by mass media into its subjective truth.
Vous êtes dans un film ou dans la réalité?
Dans un film.
Dans un film, vous êtes trop menteur.
We fundamentally misunderstand films. The inception of film could only draw influence from reality. However, almost immediately would film itself then influence reality. Reality becomes films, they mesh together, and it compounds into the world we know today. The simulacra, as defined by Jean Baudrillard. His name's difficult to pronounce, so I think a lot of people get that wrong. This is an extreme simplification of his theory, yet nonetheless sufficient for my point. So, if you want to research simulacra, simulation, he's got a great book. Go and research a bit more. But it's essentially art informs reality, reality informs art, and it compounds, right? And films inform films. And so, the film grammar we know today is a result of a million other films, influencing reality, influencing people, influencing their brains, how they perceive reality. People act and do things based on things they see in films, the way they perceive the world. And not just films, art in general is intertwined with our existence, right? The weight of film being is often lost, as if films are dispensed from an external reality and our interaction with them is totally meaningless. A huge discredit to the potential of the art form. A cultural lack of artistic respect towards film is something I would attribute to its entertainment value. It is through us forgetting the relationship between reality and film that we simply walk into the theatre or turn on our televisions to browse Netflix and forget the media is embedded with our beings, with other people in the world. After so long, we become indoctrinated into what I would describe as Hollywood capitalist definition of film. The only way to understand this is as a perceived definition of entertainment, one within confines of good filmmaking, a spectacle. It's an ideology, okay?
He captured such glorious improvised moments, the likes of which the studio directors with their union crews can never dream of.
Good filmmaking. What is good filmmaking, right? And what makes for good technique in an art form? Many would describe good technique as repeated practice in movement towards aesthetic finality. So, practicing something over and over again and perfecting it, whatever that means. So, like, planting it in a certain rhythmic way, a way that that naturally makes sense to humans. A well-timed whip pan, a perfectly choreographed stunt, or a pleasing shot composition, right? But what makes a shot composition pleasing? It's a human definition of pleasing, right? And what is being human? What is the ideas of being human? It's past, it's history, it's the present moment being defined by, since the beginning of time, how things have built towards right now. Stare at a pleasing shot for too long, and the shot becomes more of what it actually is, and less of the abstraction. You see a lot of this type of thing in David Lynch's work, for example, where the film and the media itself becomes the real, it becomes extremely within itself, it becomes past mere composition, mere aesthetic, it goes past the pleasantries of aesthetic, right? By Hollywood capitalist objectivity, we might believe that this is perfect, good, or the best composition possible. That objective goodness, that best way of it being. And best way of it being almost sounds like, about as people thinking certain races are superior, or fascistic ideas in general, certain religions are better, certain anything is inherently superior, dogmatism, right? The idea of good, your perception of something that's pleasing, is subjective, fabrication, narrative, and a lie built by history leading into your present. This is where ideology intersects art, perception of life merging with where we ascribe a meaning and goodness, where we begin to lose our own relationship to something, our personal interaction with it, inside the qualities another man enjoys, another man loved. Modern cinema is dominated by rigid definitions of what makes a film good, right? When a film challenges these norms, becomes intentionally bad, a definition still subservient to ideology, there is a flood of negativity surrounding its inherent illness. Cleanse must the product be of its truth, rid the art of its defiance, and hope the artist falls in line with coherency. The shot must cut. Something must happen. As the audience will be dissatisfied with a lack of change, a discomfort will arise. That is the voice of desire echoing inside of every filmmaker plagued by ideology, plagued by the need to make money, the capitalist need to do something that pleases what most people think is film, what most people think is good. And then we must ask, to what extreme do we take this? You see content online nowadays, things like Mr. Beast, which a lot of people hate the style of editing within that. And I'm not saying that fast-paced editing, this video is going to be cut up to make more sense, to be easily digestible. I'm not saying that's inherently bad. I'm just saying it's not the only way of something being, and it's not the best way of something being. So where does that end, you know? Does it end with Mr. Beast? Is that's too much? That style of editing? That's not film then, you know? But it still is. That's film.
The more virgin our eyes are, the more we have to say. The most detestable habit in all modern cinema is the homage. I don't want to see another goddamn homage in anybody's movie. There are enough of them which are unconscious. Now, of course you must see films, and you must see great films. I said don't be marinated, don't soak yourself in films. Now, the argument against what I'm saying is that the world is full. All the best young directors are soaked in films. And they have managed to rise above that and to be remarkable cineastes. So you are in the presence of a speaker who is not only paradoxical, but confused.
Donc vous êtes en présence de quelqu'un qui est...
Next section. We're irreversibly marinated beings. Spectacle has always been the greatest strength and weakness of the visual form. Where spectacle enables the purest forms of expression, ridded of the confinement words hold, it also enables an endless exploitation of man's relationship to novelty. What that means? We like new things, our brains are stimulated by new ideas. We know this from if you've ever scrolled TikTok or you've ever scrolled short form content, or if you've ever even watched a movie. Every time the shot changes, that's a film adhering to our enjoyment of novelty. We don't like when something's slow or when nothing happens. We don't like the idea of nothing. So the natural response is to exploit our inherent natural, for whatever reason, desire towards novelty, towards change. Aesthetic beauty has long now been the poison of our brains. Beautiful things capture us, right? Then my little metaphor here. The warm glow of the sun calling for us to stay afloat on the surface of the vast ocean of meaning, a la life. Temptation generally. This assigns to a lot of religions, a lot of different philosophical beliefs. Desire and novelty and aesthetic beauty are things that will often keep us away from, as the Buddhists would describe, nirvana. Is that Buddhism? I think so. But the idea of nirvana, the idea of nothingness, it's why we like meditation. It's why that stuff kind of relaxes us, to strip us of everything. Because, in my opinion, the truth is that there's nothing at the bottom of life, right? And everything around us is kind of symbolism built up to give us purpose, to make things make sense. Otherwise, you can't really be alive, right? So, in a world right now with media is so dominated by, aesthetic, novelty, by spectacle. What George Orwell feared were those who would ban books. What Huxley feared was that there'd be no reason to ban a book, for there would be no one who wanted to read one. Orwell feared those who would deprive us of information. Huxley feared those who would give us so much that we would be reduced to passivity and egoism. Orwell feared that the truth would be concealed from us. Huxley feared that the truth would be drowned in a sea of irrelevance. Orwell feared that we would become a captive culture. Huxley feared that we would become a trivial culture, preoccupied with some equivalent of the feelies, the orgy-porgy, and the centrifugal bumble puppy. I don't actually know what the hell that means at the end. But feelings, stimulation, something. Because nothing is really bad. And that is from Postman. 1984 book on... I don't remember the name of the book. It'll be at the end in the reference list. Okay. The effect of the term entertainment value is tragic. Widespread is the need for a film to provide satisfying escapism. Escapism that must be informed, conservative, and faint care towards a craft. Right? So, when I say conservative in form, I mean it must adhere to an idea of escapism we already have. Because then it's not going to really work as escapism off the bat for a lot of people, So if you're going to sell a film, it must, in some sense, be conservative. Otherwise, people are going to... What's the point of me watching this film? Nothing really happens. Nothing... I wasn't entertained, It's a waste of my time. And I understand people have busy lives, difficult lives. It's fine to escape. I love a good sitcom. But there's definitely room to... utilize art, utilize film to recontextualize difficulty in life, to recontextualize boredom. This is where the capitalist aspect comes into my theory. With a drive for only wide appeal, invention is merely a quota to hit for the mask of artistry. If the masses can see a few films that feel important and good among their mandated slop, that's the only word I could come up with, then they'll be satiated, they'll be satisfied, and profit will be maximised. And that's most important. Profit is, and giving people instant gratification is always going to come before making something genuinely challenging and difficult. Because we ourselves, as the people with our votes, with our money, not that I believe in that's inherently true, because a lot of us are tricked into believing in ideology and believing in this one way of film, but we don't really vote well for films. We don't really look out for smaller filmmakers. We only really look out for big films, for films that are apparently worth something, worth more. because of their monetary value, if you really think about it. The reason we know about it and the reason we care is monetary value. Of course, past interest will make Spider-Man meaningful to a lot of people. But is Spider-Man Homecoming, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, is it the comics? Is Marvel's take on it Spider-Man? Never too little artistry and never too much either. Progress becomes fabrication, steps back for the sake of steps forward, crumbing audiences along with an unrealised love for artistry. We have an unrealised love for artistry. It's why we love the things we love. It's how we love Spider-Man. An artistry that has passed, films that have been. And we confuse it with a love for Spider-Man, right? So, instead of seeing films, instead of seeing things people have made because they love something about Sam Raimi, or they love something about Spider-Man, and they want to put it into something new. We go and see this capitalist take on the product. We go and because of the image of Spider-Man purely. So film itself is a very special art form. Where the future, video games and stuff, where future art moves towards invention of new realities, virtual reality, and the past found itself imitating reality with paintings and statues and books, film is a middle ground. Film is reality itself captured by a fabricated science, by the camera, right? So there's fantasy in there when a cut happens, when just by the fact it's shot, really, just by the fact it's framed in this way in a window, is the fabrication. But film is reality itself, and the theatrics we implement into film, acting, cuts, editing, sound, all of these things, those are fictitious complication, an unintentionally sinister mechanism of indoctrination into the absence of nothing. So these things are a false world built to keep us away from the fact that film itself is a capture of nothing. Day-to-day life it's a mirage to take us away from that fact of what film really is. Because you really think about it, when you pull out a camera on your own and you just go and film a tree, it's quite boring. It's a nothingness. It's just that, it's just a capture. And how funny to hear Orson Welles speak about marination in media, seeing where the modern world has taken us, with rising screen times and condensed aesthetic expulsions attacking man at every turn. And what I mean by condensed aesthetic expulsions is Instagram Reels or TikTok, or the way in which art and films are so fast. Something like Everything Everywhere All at Once or Barbie is just like aesthetic expulsions, fast. Like, we're so good at it now. It's so condensed and just, we're not really good. It's not good though, is it? I don't know. Is it? It's these like rich, constant thing, and there is no way in which we are not marinated every second of the day in art, and we're so marinated that we're not even aware of it. The degradation of aura in art is an all-time high. Aura being the ritual art, the experience of it, the actually feeling it as a thing, because it's so mass-produced now and it's so done to a science. It loses any kind of mysticism or aura or spirituality, right? Art comes from speakers who are paradoxical and confused. They are Orwell in that clip. The desire for novelty lashing out at the conservative exploitation of novelty. So, within our marination, maybe our only answer is to ignore Wells's paradox and go to so many forms of media we stop seeing the lines. That sounds really crazy, right? Take in as many different things as possible, do as much, marinate yourself further. That if we don't see enough, we can't really realise enough that the media landscape is so expansive and large, and to be a cultured media explorer, we can't view film in the way Orwell did in that simplified time. We have to now be open and seeing as many different forms of media as possible. And not just when I say explore media, I mean geographically go to see what different countries are making. But I also mean look at your neighbour's utilization of media, where homogeneity infests what we think we should see. Acknowledging that the photographs maybe your younger brother took on your phone, or video essays on YouTube, or subcultures forming on social media, like I'm a proper loser, so I like brainrot a lot. And acknowledging that is art, and that it holds equal artistic merit and integrity to a film that cost $350 million or whatever to create. This is the escape of the Hollywood capitalist lie. This is ridding artistic merit of monetary value, that just because it costs a lot does not mean it's worth a lot. Diverge a little here, I want to talk about a film. So, this film, Chronopolis, I think, right? Chronopolis is a film made at the end of time. Humans cursed with immortality are restrained to our plane of existence, existing for the sake of not being dead. Days consisting of repetitive tasks in hope of something new, desire endlessly riffing with monotony of an experience in everything, self as a melting pot of too much time. Chronopolis is a fairly slow film. It's meandering and repetitive. A film in constant anticipation of beautiful finality, a point. So the film itself is exploration of our existence, of desire, of existing for sake, of the world we kind of live in now of privilege, where we just kind of viewing art for the sake, you know? We're not really even feeling it. We're just making, doing to make spectacle, to make something that's bigger, worth more value, more things on the screen, more superheroes. All these little things, we've built this on. Look how big it is. This is the big point. This is the spectacle. But then Chronopolis, I'm sure the virtue of something meandering and kind of reminiscent of the looking back on your own life as a media consumer is not inherently alluring. It's kind of boring. This inherent lack, though, is its appeal. If you watch Chronopolis, maybe, and you really embrace that feeling, maybe you could realize something. And in that sense, the point is lost on those on a path that hopes to exceed existence, on those that are looking for those in the film, those who are gods just making, consuming. The point of Chronopolis is lost on them. Another little visualization here. In life, we're all walking on a looping path. Excessive experience makes this path tightly wound and short and repetitive and dizzying. Experience we breathe and take slowly makes this path expansive and ridded of repetition and beautiful. And we can see more. We can enjoy the path. We can take it slowly, right? In a lot of ways, Chronopolis makes its point too effectively, that those with ideological desires will not perceive it. As Huxley said, they have give us so much that we would be reduced to passivity and egoism, right? This is then where the film's right in front of you, the vast amount of art generally that is right in front of you, filled with every answer you could possibly need. We just ignore it. Because it's boring. Because it's not exciting. The internet is right there. With everything in history right there. Any word I've said in this that you don't understand, Google it. The internet is right there.
That would be really cool. If we could freeze life. Like, if we could just click it. And freeze it and say, this is the way it's gonna be forever. Like, have this moment together forever.
I'm not drunk enough for that.
Really cool. So cool, y'all. Is it? They're making fun of me? No.
No, we just want to
click things and freeze them and buy houses together and go to church services.
To end. Where does it end? Right? What's the solution? What do we do now? I mean, it seems pretty obvious, right? We begin by opening ourselves up to new thinking. We begin by caring enough to see what has already been there, the thing that has been blinded by egoism and passivity. How can you wish for art to care? How can you wish for art to touch you in a manner adherent to you? How can you ask art to do the work for you? I mean, you can't, right? It is now only your responsibility to recontextualize the purpose of your being itself. I opened this video making it clear that art is a present action. Film in production should be working towards awakened, aware, artistic self, and if it cannot, we must ridicule its ignorance of its own confusion. Push it away, and point to those holding hands with the future. We must say, look at this, it's getting at something profound, it is acknowledging everything around us. And I'm not calling for you to only watch the classics, the eccentric, or any other definition of film. I'm asking for you to step outside of definitions. I'm asking for you to notice sinister patterns residing in the inauthentic, and the sense of something real residing in the authentic. Authenticity is merely the fundamental truth within everything, that everything is symbolism, that everything is an idea, in effort of avoiding total indoctrination into dogmatist ideologies. The purpose of my vaguer definitions here is to call upon anyone in the audience who is at odds with art, at odds with the modern world, to think more about it, to become the active audience member while never seeing yourself as totally active, never completed. To be endlessly interrogating the world around you, to have as many questions as a child did, to be genuinely curious and to genuinely feel things and notice them. And this doesn't just go for film, this goes for when you walk on a walk and see a tree, like, just perceive it, feel it. Susan Sontag, a great essay on feeling art, and not just translating it into ideas of just the word tree, of the idea tree. Think of it just think of it outside of these simplifications. It's really scary, but it's really exciting. It breathes a bit of life into the world. And most of all, that's just being merely present and awakened. Feeling something as opposed to understanding it. Understanding as a filter as what you know, and what you know as ideology. And here, on a little quote from Susan Sontag. It was from a weekly visit to the cinema that you learned, or tried to learn, how to strut, how to smoke, how to kiss, to fight, to grieve. Movies gave you tips on how to be attractive. But whatever you took home from the movies was only part of the larger experience of losing yourself in faces, which is the more inclusive form of desire embodied in the movie experience. The strongest experience was simply to surrender to it, to be transported by it, to be transported by what was on screen. Susan Sontag. Thanks for listening. My name's Joe. This is an essay I wrote for university, but it's going on YouTube, so if you enjoyed this and you want to see more stuff like this, you want to hear more of my thoughts on art, maybe through this lens, or just the general way I'm feeling about things and art in general and film and life, then subscribe, follow me. There'll be more in the future. References going up now. Yep. Have a good day. I really hope you do. I really hope you enjoy my advice. I authentically do care. I want more people to care because it's the only way the world becomes a better place. Only way I see more films I like, selfishly. So, yeah, have a great day. Peace. Goodbye.